This is one of the most important books I've ever read in my entire life, and I'm going to tell you how this applies to you, whether you're a crypto bro, a stock bro, or somebody who doesn't know anything about being in finance or anything at all and is just looking for a better life. The 4 Hour Work Week is one of the most interesting books I've ever read. Let's talk about why that's true. All right, so a little backstory. My dad gave me this book on a random Sunday 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I read it. And this kicked off a whole new thing inside of me. I read this book, I read Alex Hormozy's 100 Million Offers, and now I'm reading a third book, The Magic of Thinking Big. And I now love reading. I love reading these types of books about lifestyle design and what we can do to make ourselves like put in better spots and how to like escape our jobs and do cool things and be free and live your life. And I think a lot of what this book talks about is what we're trying to do in crypto and what the crypto bros are trying to do. So let's dive into what this is talking about, some challenges that might arise, and then after it, we're going to talk about how crypto ties into this. There's four main things that this book talks about, and it's called the deal structure: define, eliminate, automate, and liberate. Now, each one of these sections is really important because without one of the others, I mean, you're going to have a better life, but they work together very well. So the first thing that you're going to do in the define stage is define who you want to be, whether that's a crypto trader, somebody who doesn't work a 9 to 5, an entrepreneur, business owner, somebody who just gets to travel the world and makes like their money online and remote work. Like, who do you want to be? Maybe you just want to be a stay-at-home dad who makes a little bit of money and you get to spend more fun with the kids, or maybe you want to be a dad that works at home or a mom that works at home so you can take care of your kids while you're working and not sit in an office for 8 hours of the day when you only work for 4, right? So define who you want to be, and then the book talks about like setting 6-month goals and 12-month goals and how your goals are not as far as you think they are. Most people don't need to set 1 and 2 and 3 and 5 year goals. You need 6-month goals that you redo every 6 months. You need 12-month goals that you redo every year, okay? Lastly, it also talks about how like your dream life, all the things that you've ever wanted probably don't cost as much per month as you think. So if you want an Aston Martin and you want to be able to do the Tango and you want to go to Europe, then how much does all that really cost? The Aston Martin, maybe like $3,000 a month. Trip to Europe is one-time expense of $2,000 for a plane ticket or something. Learning to tango just takes time, right? So what do you actually want to do and how do we solve it right now? Coming off of that definition phase is the elimination phase. So all of us need to make money. Majority of us work for companies, and some of the cool people get to do entrepreneurship and own businesses that are successful. Well, this book talks about whether you're a business owner or a 9 to 5 worker, how do you start to eliminate yourself from work? A lot of the work we do is pointless and we all know it. Email checking, sitting in meetings, wasting time, sitting at the office, drinking water away from our desk or getting a snack. Like, nobody works 8 hours a day. And if you work 8 hours a day, you're probably like doing one of those crazy 100-hour-a-week jobs, and that's a whole different situation. But elimination is the name of the game in order for you to have some freedom. So how do you start to teach people that you work with that you're not available during these hours, or you only answer email in the morning, or you only do this type of work in the afternoon, or what are the circumstances? Furthermore, Tim talks about how the majority of what's going to change your life, or the majority of the work you have to do, is 20% of all the work that you have. Simple Pareto's law: 20% of the work you have to do takes up 80% of all the tasks, or 80% of the effort or stress that's put on a person. Part of joining what Tim calls the new rich, us new rich people, is eliminating all these extra tasks. So why, if you're the CEO, or even why, if you're a worker, should you be answering emails at all day long? You should just answer email in the morning, let it pile up, batch it, do it the next morning, or do it later in the day. Don't spend all day on emails because you're just slowly wasting your time without you even realizing it. Furthermore, that other 80% of the work that you do just to be busy, don't do it to just be busy. Do the 20% that matters and be done. If the other 80% becomes more urgent and creeps into the 20%, great, get it done. But if it's just all this nonsense work, or if you're at an office and you don't have a remote position and you don't have any work and 80% of your time is just sitting around doing nothing, how do we eliminate that task, or eliminate being at the office, or eliminate like all this stuff that we don't need to be doing? At this point in the video, you might be thinking that there's no way that's going to happen with my 9 to 5, and I do agree to some extent, but just hang on for a little bit longer. We're going to talk about some counter arguments that I have with my own job trying to implement some of these in a little bit in the end of the video. We're going to get through that, the automation and the liberation phase, and then we'll talk about some of the things I think are not as realistic, but still worth a try. After defining who you want to be, part of this new rich, and eliminating yourself from tasks that don't need to be done, or batching tasks so a lot of your day is freed up, how do we automate some tasks? Well, the author of the book talks about a lot about like hiring VAs or letting people get accustomed to you being absent. So whether that's in the back half of the day, the beginning of the day, or you take like a Monday off or a Friday off, how do you become absent and still let others do their work? Or if you're the owner of a business, how do you get work off of your shoulders and stop yourself from being a bottleneck? Or if you're an employee, how do you just simply like put your emails in the morning and the rest of your day is fine? Or like, how do you get people comfortable with you transitioning to remote work, et cetera, et cetera? Like, how do you automate some of these things that you're doing to make them more efficient for you and for your business and for everyone? Part of automation is also allowing for, after you've eliminated tasks, to bring tasks back in that you find meaningful or fun or that you enjoy to do. So, maybe in the elimination phase, you say, I'm only answering email on Monday. Well, you figure out like answering email only on Monday is really not the best for you. So maybe you automate it and bring it back into Monday and Friday, or Monday, Wednesday, Friday, right? You actually prefer doing a little bit more. That's okay. It's part of your automation, and you just find a way to make it streamlined so you can do the things that you want to do any other times of the day. After automation, the last thing you're going to do is liberate yourself. This really pertains to remote workers or people who own like a service-based business or like a restaurant, like a location-based business. How do you liberate yourself from that point of work to where you have to go into an office, you have to go into the restaurant, you have to go into the business, you have to go change people's HVAC units? Like, how do you get yourself out of that requirement of location being a constraint on your life? Personally, like, being in a 9 to 5, if you work in an office all day, we all know that we don't do 8 hours of work. The majority of people don't do 8 hours of work. And so the other times, a lot of the times, you're finding ways to stay busy or look busy, when really you've done 2 to 4 hours of productive work, and the rest of your time should just be your time, free time. So Tim, the author, talks about ways of getting your boss to let you go remote work. And it's really interesting. This book was written in the late 2000s, early 2010s, depending on which revision you picked up. This one right here is from 2011. I think this is the most revised copy. It has a little bit of extra features inside, like blog articles and other people talking about the book. So it's really interesting in that respect. But remote work was not as popular back in here. So the idea that it talks about, this book actually talks about drop shipping, it talks about paid ads, it talks about automating businesses and earning like 10K a month without being in work, all before YouTube really popularized a lot of these things. So that's what I really appreciate about this book, is I wish I could read this book if it came out right now in 2023 and like give me a roadmap for the next 10 years. But the liberation phase is about getting you out of the work environment when you don't necessarily have to be there. Now, some jobs require you to be there, like doctors, lawyers, etc. But how, if you're not one of those people, which the majority of us are not, how do you get out of sitting at work all day long when work is not being done, and you should be able to be around your kids or go on like travel while you're working, or do just whatever you want to do, all right? Now, let's talk about some of my beefs with the book, some things I think that are hard before we tie it into crypto, and how I think crypto actually ties into a lot of the ideas that this book has. So some things I think are hard with this book is like, if you are a remote worker, yes, you have freedom of location, but you still got to be around the computer all day long, like 9 hours a day, 8 hours a day, whatever. A lot of us are not capable, if you're a remote worker, to just go out and eat lunch or go out and do this without bringing your computer and having a Wi-Fi connection and being like ready to answer stuff, right? So even if you have free time in the day, you're still expected to maintain those hours. And I think that is difficult, especially when you're at home and it's like, feels like you can do stuff. I think remote work is actually better than office work, because I think it saves the company money. People don't have to travel and waste gas and wake up really early and be stressed out. I think it's actually beneficial, but there are some more further constraints that you can dive into if you really wanted to. Some other constraints that I think that people have that this book doesn't really address is that entrepreneurship allows you to make a lot more money than being a remote 9 to 5 worker, or just a 9 to 5 worker in general. And if you really want to live like the life of freedom and making your money go further, I think owning a business or some passive income stream or some side hustle is definitely a way to go. I think that if you're going to do this and it's easier to do it when you're just like a single person. If you're a married person, you really need to consult your other person to make sure that they're on page with this idea. If you have kids, it gets even harder. But maybe your whole dream isn't to travel the world all the time like Tim is. Tim's traveling every 3 months, but maybe you have a kid in the family and maybe you just want to be at home. This really addresses a lot of those topics as well too. Lastly, I also think it's really important to put this book into context within yourself. So Tim is a specific person. He talks a lot about what he likes and what he likes to do, like tangoing and bull riding and going to Europe 3 times a year. Not all of us have to be that. Maybe you just want to go fishing. I personally love to play golf and would like to play golf more. I like to be able to go get coffee with my parents or with my friends or go out to eat just at a random point and not have my phone, like always have my Teams out or my Outlook out or wondering what's going on my computer. Stuff like that. So I think this book is really good, but there are some cons that if you read it, you'll know. It's like, how do we fit that in or what do we do? And lastly, my last beef with the book is this book does not tell you how to make money, okay? This book does not tell you how to make money, unfortunately, because it talks about drop shipping and putting ads in magazines and selling things, but we already know about drop shipping and it's a lot harder these days. So really, you have to come to this book with an open mind and say, okay, this is what Tim did and this is what was working back then. How do we move it to today, 2023, 2024, 2025? What is going to be drop shipping of 2024? What is going to be paid ads in magazines of 2024, right? Is it TikTok? Is it YouTube? Is it crypto? Now let's get into the crypto part. So I think that crypto people are inherently really in line with what this book says. We are go-getters. We want to be free. We don't really care for the 9 to 5. We like to work. We want to work in the morning and in the afternoon, but we don't want to be told like, Dawson, you have to dress this way. You have to work 8 hours straight with a 1 hour lunch. Like, we just want to be able to put work in when we're ready to put work in, not be burnt out. We want to be doing things we're interested in, talking to people online, building cool projects that are changing technology, changing the world, providing innovative solutions. And that's a lot of what this book talks about. We want freedom of location, freedom of place, freedom of time. And, if we work for 8 hours in the morning, we want to play golf, but everyone else is still working while we play golf. We just want to be able to play golf, right? We want to be able to have freedom and do what we want. And I see a lot of that in crypto people. Also, if you're a crypto person, I see a lot of drive, hunger, especially if you're here in the bear market right now. Drive, hunger, determination, desire. I see a lot of these core tenets that Tim also has in crypto people. And so if you're a crypto person, I highly recommend reading this book because I feel like it's going to hit you really hard, like it hit me really hard. And it just feels like all these things I've had in my mind have finally been written down on paper. And while Tim didn't know about crypto in 2006 or whatever when he wrote the first edition of this book, and he probably didn't know about it in 2011 when he wrote this edition of the book, Tim definitely probably would align a lot with what crypto has to say. And that's why I feel like I connect so well with what this book is talking about. So as somebody who really likes crypto, as somebody who really likes investing, I highly encourage you to read this book. And there's a couple things that I would do if you wanted to start implementing some of these things. Maybe try and build up like your safety net. So I feel really comfortable having a larger safety net in case I get fired from my job or something. I don't immediately have to stress out and go find another job. I will probably find a way to have another job, but maybe I can work on a side project. Maybe I can do something else. So my first thing would be to find a way to build up a safety net so that you can try and do some of these things that is talked about in the book. Second thing I'd also do is definitely set your 6 or 12-month goals. I set 6-month goals for myself, and I really believe I can achieve a lot of them. So I would highly suggest you to do the exercises that are in the book, set the 6-month goals, do the challenges. He has a lot of challenges of go talk to a stranger or lay down in a random park or random stuff like this that we would never do. This thing keeps popping into my mind about being uncomfortable. Try and get uncomfortable and do some of the things. The book talks a lot about remote work. If you're in the position to try and ask your boss if you can have remote work, try it out, maybe try it. And then if you get remote, try and see if you can work in a different location, like work at your place, work at your parents' place, work at a coffee shop, work in a different state, like see if you can make that work before really transitioning to what this book has to say. And the last thing I do is probably try and make some money online, whether it's through X monetization. By X I mean Twitter. X monetization, YouTube creation, selling a product, selling a course, doing something, trading crypto. See if you can go make money online and see if it's a feasible thing or something that you enjoy. Maybe you just enjoy working for the company that you're working for and being an employee. We'll try and get remote and see if you enjoy that version better, right? So there's a lot of cool things that this book talks about, and I think my crypto friends, my non-crypto friends, everyone in the world would benefit from reading this. And hopefully, if you're not really a reader, like I was not really a reader, this book actually gets you into reading, because I think it's been really good for me. Other than that, hope you have a great week, and we'll see you in the next one.